In the mid-2000s, a legendary supercar known as the Ascari KZ1 would hit the track, influencing the current world of automotive innovation. This car has been one of my dreams alongside the Ford Chevy GR1 concept, because it does appear that both were built for the driver in mind and not so much for the unique appearance selections. I'm looking at you, Porsche. Like most people that came up around this supercar's inception, my experience would be through video games like Test Drive Unlimited, due to its IRL low production volume, as well as obviously being poor. There was no doubt that the Ascari would always be my selection when racing through the streets of Test Drive Unlimited. But we need to go back to what made the Ascari so appealing. Most Ascari cars would be mated with a BMW powertrain that could be found in legendary roadsters like the Z8, which would then be tuned to have a 0 to 60 time under 4 seconds. And your car's sleek design, which had background ties to Noble, another successful supercar brand, would influence hypercars like Koenigsegg, yes, that Koenigsegg, and McLaren. Compare the side profiles of the KZ1 to the MP412C, and you can see that the McLaren would take Ascari's style to the next level. While it gave influence to future automotive, Ascari itself would have a history in F1 racing. What would happen to these beloved supercars known as Ascari, and was it due to high production cost or mixed reviews that led to bankruptcy? The raw nature of Ascari would prove how important it was to have a driver's car in the supercar world. This would not only send it top gear to showcase its power, but also represent its lineage within F1 racing. Now, I will be showcasing the Ascari KZ1 quite a bit throughout this video, even though they had a few other models. And this is because of what information is out there for the brand, but also the KZ1 is what I remember the most out of the 2000s. Ascari cars were not just some made-up concept behind a billionaire. The brand represented the history within F1 racing under Alberto Ascari, who would go on to be one of the first multi-world champions with Ferrari in the 1950s. Sadly, Alberto's demise would be at the steering wheel in 1955, but his legacy would inspire Klaus Jordt by the 1990s, who was another racing driver that founded the Ascari brand. And sorry I butchered that name, but I have to note that it does appear that Ascari cars existed a little bit before Klaus came into the picture, as some articles state that he bought the brand in 1995, but he was a chairman in 1994, and I even found it in a few other places that he bought the brand in 1994, but it does seem like Klaus is the founder of Ascari. The interesting side of Ascari cars and how it came to be was its ties to Noble, another supercar manufacturer that dominated the 2000s, as the FGT would be introduced under Noble in the mid-90s and then sold as the Ascari Ecos. Taking a look at the rear of Ascari's first car, you can see where Koenigsegg took some styling cues, especially with the tail lights. This car would lead to the next chapter with Ascari in the 2000s, opening a circuit of success. By 2003, Ascari cars would hit the gas, creating luxury with track focus. Most, if not all, Ascari models were more hands-on and less assisted to create a fine balance of man and machine. Their most popular model, and the one I fell in love with, known as the KZ1, would be powered by an upgraded S62 BMW engine, which could be found in hit models like the BMW Z8. What better way to get close to the Z8 with better performance than with the Ascari brand, as it wasn't just the KZ1 that used this powertrain. With more modifications to the heart, the A10 would be born in the mid-2000s, pushing a 0 to 60 time under 3 seconds, which is just insanity for the 2000s, as the Bugatti Veyron would hit similar times with a more premium sticker. This showed that Ascari cars were built more for adrenaline junkies, but it wasn't just the thrill of switching gears while going 150 plus Plus, as the man behind the brand, Klaus, would focus on a race resort around the KZ1's release. This resort, which is still around by the way, gave more privileged gearheads a chance to go around a track while enjoying the luxuries of being high class. And let me just tell you that digging through the Ascari Club Instagram page is interesting because it showcases a lot of legendary supercars hitting the Ascari circuit, which is definitely just a fantasy for me. Why am I still poor? This type of crazy luxury would be short-lived, however, and by the 2010s, Ascari cars would fade from the supercar world. Even though Ascari is one of my dream cars to have, the brand itself definitely has some faults. In 2008, the Great Recession would alter every bit of the world economy, including auto manufacturers, and Ascari was no exception to that drastic hit. By the 2010s, Ascari would file for bankruptcy, ultimately ending the beloved supercar. But it wasn't just economics that cratered this luxury track demon. Digging through some of the web, its founder Klaus would be stated as a businessman, and most businessmen branch out to other profits. This would in return showcase that Ascari cars were another part of that adventure. Another part of why the Ascari failed was its focus on in-house production, and even in Top Gear reviews, they showcased its switchgear while making claims that it wasn't just another parts bin special. The Ascari lineup was still so new in the supercar world that it became way too expensive to produce, which led to its failure. But there is one thing that I want to call out about this while looking into reviews, which is that it does appear the car was using some parts bin equipment, and even the headlights for the KZ1 came from a Peugeot 206, which doesn't really speak luxury. The further Ascari went with production, especially with the A10, which was a dramatically altered KZ1, led to its downfall. I've spent a lot of time throughout this video mentioning Ascari, but this car, the KZ1 in particular, really changed the supercar landscape. The brand would be used for its styling cues within the hypercar world, such as Koenigsegg, as well as other supercars like McLaren, because of its sleek modern design that was way ahead of its time. I have been wanting to make a video on this car for some time because it is and was a childhood dream to own one. Obviously, racing the KZ1 or A10 in a video game is way different, but the car still left an impression under Test Drive Unlimited. With that being said, what is one car you saw from the 2000s that became a fantasy? Is it the Chrysler ME412, or is it something that had a heritage of racing like Ascari?